Good afternoon, Team Westhaven students and parents. This is Principal Woodson. We are excited about our town hall meeting today. I want to tell you all in advance that we are experiencing some technical difficulties, so we apologize. If at any moment that you do not hear my voice or you lose me, one of the admin team members are going to quickly jump in and pick up where I left off. Dr. C, please remain on ready in the event that we have technical difficulties. And again, parents, we welcome you to our Westhaven Return Stronger Town Hall meeting. Ms. Walter, you can proceed. All right, so parents, the first thing we want to tell you about, and this may actually change, seeing as though the buildings will be closed on tomorrow. Right now, parents, our tentative date to return to the building for students is going to be, make sure that you monitor the chat box and ensure that we remain on mute. Our bell time, they are asking us parents to return to our
Mr. Wilson, unmute yourself.
Then you should let that indirect.
Are you sure?
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Ma'am. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Wilson, are you still there?
I cut it off.
Look, okay. I don't know. But like he was saying, we're not really sure at this point if and when we will return to the building. But as of now, they're telling us March 1st is when students will return, both in person and virtual. We have had to change our bell time just due to buses and other things in the district. So school will now start to begin at 8:15 and we would dismiss at 3:15. All right, so this next slide basically just talks about background knowledge about the pandemic. And as we know, it has definitely changed how we see the world. However, we know that we have to continue to keep our students safe, teach them and provide social and emotional support through this incredible time. We have decided to re-enter our building and serve our students who have opted for in-person learning while continuing virtual instruction. Ms. Walter, can you read the next slide? Mr. Wilson is texting me. Ms. Walter, are you there?
Okay, so this is our, she went too far, okay. Our overview. Our district is committed to providing the best learning experiences for our students. As we look forward to implementing the plan for the rapidly approaching phased return to in-person classrooms in March, we must garner our resources and efforts to continue providing high-quality learning options to our students. This re-entry plan will begin with students who chose the in-person learning option. What to expect when schools reopen. So you should expect safety protocols, utilization of student devices, social distancing when possible, high quality instruction, social emotional support. And that's just an example of what the classrooms may look like. Okay, so these are enhanced health and safety protocols. So we have increased cleaning. All common areas will be thoroughly cleaned and disinfected at least twice per day. Thorough cleaning and disinfection of all frequently touched areas at least 4 times per day. Daily restock of all tissue, paper towels, hand soap, and hand sanitizer dispensers. Then we have safeguards to limit spread of germs. temperature and health monitoring for all students, staff, and visitors. Those with a fever or symptoms will not be allowed to remain at school or work. Isolation areas designated for individuals with symptoms. Social distancing markers in all buildings. Reduced class transitions and reduced visitor volume. Limiting class interactions and gatherings. Hand sanitizer stations in all common areas and hallways, and frequent opportunities for hand washing. Then we have use of personal protective equipment, PPE. Face mask requirements for students, staff, and visitors will be based on current guidance from the Center for Disease Control, Shelby County Health Department, and local government ordinances. All buildings will be equipped with emergency stock of PPE. Health and safety signage in all buildings. Social distance and floor decals. Visitor entry guidelines and mask requirements. Hand washing steps to avoid germs and stay home when sick. Okay, then we have safety protocols, and this is just a snapshot of the foyer area entrance into the school building. Principal will provide pictures of safety protocol layout, including pictures of plexiglass in the office area, signs on the walls, 6-foot floor decal, adequate PPE equipment, and as you see, he has provided that for you.
All right, team. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm joining on my phone, parents and staff, so we apologize having some technical difficulties. Jordan, did you just finish the safety protocols?
Yes.
Okay. So parents, these are our numbers as of right now. This is just a breakdown of school personnel, so I'm not going to read through all of them. We will be fully staffed for the anticipated return of our students coming back into the building. So that's just a breakdown of who is represented in the data. Ms. Walter, you can go to the next slide. So this data, parents, is slightly off. This is based on the original survey data that we received, and that data had a total of 182 students returning. Once we have collected all the data from the survey, we will have accurate numbers, but this is the data that we had from the most recent survey. So again, parents, just make admin team, can we make sure we're monitoring the mute?
Unmute yourself, Mr. Woodson.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Jordan. So again, these numbers may change, but based on the last survey results that we had, we were anticipating 182 students. As we prepare to return to in-person, we will be able to let you know exactly how many students are physically in the building with us versus our students that are joining us virtually. Next slide, Ms. Walter. So this is just a breakdown of the arrival process. Parents, we are going to check the students' temperatures before leaving. So this piece is very important. Parents, if you are supervising, that means if you walk your child to school and or you drop your child off as a car rider, there will be someone outside to scan your child. We want to scan your child while you're there before you actually leave campus, because if your child fails the temperature check, then your child would have to return home. So parents, it is imperative that if you are supervising your students, either by walking them and or dropping them off, that you remain in your car or you remain with your child until we can properly scan them to get the temperature check. Parents, you will not be able to walk your students to class. And as a matter of fact, parents will not be able to actually enter the building. It's just a safety precaution. We are going to provide you all with all of our times in some of the upcoming slides. So there's going to be more information regarding the actual dismissal and arrival process. You can go to the next slide, Ms. Walsh. So this is the information regarding car riders' early drop-off procedures. Early drop-off parents, you can drop your child. And again, I keep saying the word drop, so I need to stop saying it. Early drop-off begins at 7:45. Now, when we say drop-off, that means that you stay in your car. I will actually be out in the back for car riders. I am going to scan your child while they're in the car. If your child passes the temperature check, you're free to drop them off. If they don't pass the test, then you are to take your child home and make sure that you have a clearance letter before bringing them back. And so that time period will be 7:45 to 8 o'clock. And again, parents, please do not drop your child off. This is not like normal. We have to scan every child. You will use the normal back parking lot like we normally do. And again, you will remain in the car, and then it breaks it down. So if your child has a temperature above 100.4, you will be asked to return your child back home. Our car riders arriving to school after 8, parents, please drive them around front. And again, don't just drop them off, drive them around front. There will be another member of the admin team around front who will scan your child on the front parking lot to ensure that they pass the temperature checks. So as far as car riders are concerned, you are to remain in the car, and we're going to scan your child, and then we will give you your next steps. Next slide. Many parents have questions regarding how our bus is going to work. So we have a short video from the district regarding bus services through Durham.
I'm off mute.
Ms. Wall, you may want to restart it. I couldn't hear it again.
Child to continue to transportation is changing for the 2020-2021 school year due to the global pandemic. Parents must decide if they want their child to continue to ride the bus or find other transportation option for their students. Any student who chooses to ride the bus must wear a mask. Temperature checks will be performed once the child reaches the school. We realize that the summer heat can cause the body temperature to rise, so if a student has an elevated temperature, they will be checked again before being placed in an isolation room. To ensure proper sanitation, we will be cleaning and disinfecting buses between routes and at the end of the day. We are stronger together. Coronavirus will not defeat us. We are 901.
All right, thank you, Ms. Walter. You can go to the next slide. All right, so this is just a breakdown of bus transportation. As they mentioned, students are going to practice social distancing at the bus stop, as well as be required to wear their masks. Schools will return to their original bell schedule, which is 8:15 to 3:15. School bus routes will remain the same, and buses will be cleaned and disinfected between the routes and at the end of each day. And students who ride the bus will be required to wear a mask. Now, parents, when the students get here off the bus, again, we have to go through the same COVID-19 screening process. So if we scan your child and they fail the temperature check, we will have to call you, and you will have to come and pick your child up. Your child will be waiting in the isolation room until you're able to come and pick them up. Next slide, Ms. Walter. All right, so this is just information specifically about buses. What we can do, parents, because I don't want to necessarily have to go through all of this. Any parent that child rides the bus, I will share all of these protocols with you so that you can have them available. But basically, they're just talking about the steps that they're going to take as far as safety and PPE protocol, which is students having personal protection equipment, which includes masks or face shields, and then also the cleaning techniques that they're going to use and the steps that they're going to make. So if you're sending your child for in-person, parents, we will send these slides to you so you know exactly what the safety criteria are for Durham. Next slide, Ms. Walter. All right, so this is once students arrive on the bus. Students that ride the bus, they will enter the normal front entrance, and we're going to screen them upon entry. As I mentioned, parents, if students fail the test, we will give you a call, and they will have to be picked up. Until you come, they will be in our isolation room. The slide says grab and go breakfast will be provided. And what we're going to do, any student that wants breakfast, breakfast actually will be provided in the classroom. But every student that wants breakfast, they will be able to get it. If students get here before 7:45, they will go to the cafeteria. If the bus gets here at 8 o'clock or after 8 o'clock, they will immediately be screened. And if they pass, they will report to their normal classroom for the day. Next slide, Ms. Walter. So this is student entry information. Student entry 8 to 8:15. Students that arrive at 8 a.m. will use the front door. So again, if they're a car rider and you miss us out back, drive around and we will scan you. Those students, once they pass, will come into the building and enter. Breakfast will await them in the classroom. They won't have to worry about breakfast. It will already be waiting for them in the classroom for every student that wants it. Next slide, Ms. Walters. Thank you. Okay. So this is one thing. It's not on this slide, but we want to be clear of this. Our plan, parents, is because our students are departmentalized, which means that they switch each class remain in the same cohort of students. So, for example, if your child is in a class with 10 students, they're in the same with those students every day. The teachers are going to transition to them instead of the students transitioning, because that'll be much more difficult to try to make sure that they're socially and physically distant. And then every student parent will have an assigned seat. They will sit in that same seat every day. They will keep all of their supplies with them. And as I mentioned, the teachers will come to them and they won't move. That's just an additional layer of safety that we're putting in place, especially if we have some type of outbreak. We can do contact tracing and we'll know that the same group of students have been with the same cohort. So again, transitions, there will be none. In that cohort, they will go to the restroom using social distance. Students will only be allowed to enter the restroom in groups of 2. So we're going to have a schedule for that. It is going to take us a little bit longer, but they're going to go in groups of 2. Hall passes really won't be given, only if it has an emergency. And if we have a student who has an emergency, a member of our ed assistant team or staff will actually supervise those students as they go to the restroom. The restroom breaks, right now we have 3 scheduled. And again, if there are any emergencies, we will make sure that students are able to use the restroom. Breakfast and lunch will take place in their classroom, because again, trying to move students throughout the building exposes them to other students. So then we will have a larger number of contact tracing to report in the event that there is a COVID-19 positive test in the building. So there will be no transitions, parents. There will be no transitions at all other than them going to the restroom and them leaving for the day. Next slide, Ms. Walter. I think you're ahead of me. Good job, Ms. Walter. Okay, so this is end of day class hallway transitions. Ms. Walter, you can go to the next slide. So I just mentioned breakfast. Breakfast will be available every day as early as 7:45. But in the classroom, students will have from 8 to 8:15 to eat their breakfast. As I mentioned, breakfast will be in the classroom. Our lunch schedule right now, everyone is going to lunch at 11:30. That will no longer work. So each student will have their own separate lunch schedule like we typically have, but our lunch will run from 10:45 to 12:25. Once we get back to school, check with your child's homeroom teacher, and they will let you know the specific time that they have lunch. As I mentioned, parents, because this is not the norm, you won't be able to come to the school to have lunch with your child, or you won't be able to come to the school to visit because of COVID-19. Our plan right now is to ensure that our students are getting at least 2 hot meals a day, hot meals a week rather, and then the other days will be sack lunches. There have been many questions regarding lunch. Parents, you can send your child to school with lunch, but it needs to be in a disposable bag that we can discard. So you won't be able to send them to the school with a lunch box. So put it in a disposable bag or paper sack, and when they're done, they would dispose of it. Virtual parents, if you need to pick up your lunch, and even if your kids are in person and you want to pick up the lunch, I think that still will be an option, but I think they're going to prioritize the virtual parents. So virtual parents, you still can come to the school on those designated days to pick your bulk meals up. All right, right now, parents, I just want to give you all a heads up. We do have before and after care program. However, there are some adjustments that we're making. There's more information and details to come around if we will be able to continue to offer before and after care once we return. So there have been some changes with our program. As soon as I get an update, parents, I will share that update with you. I know that many of you all look forward to taking advantage of the before and after care program, but there are some potential changes that may happen when we return to the school. So as soon as I get that information, parents, I will let you know if we have a before and after school care program. And if we do not, I will try to give you a tentative date when it will resume. Next slide, Ms. Walton. So again, we've talked about this. We are returning to our original bell times, which is 8:15 until 3:15. There's been much discussion around dress code. So students that are virtual, you do not have to wear a uniform. However, if you are sending your students back in the building for in-person, we are required to follow the SES board policy on uniform. So that basically says in-person students are expected to wear their uniforms daily. Now we're going to go through some scenarios of what it will look like for classroom instruction. So this is our first, and I think we've had had 2 days of what asynchronous learning looks like. So some of that data at the top, the data at the top is accurate. As you all know, parents, this week has been an asynchronous learning day. And so what you've experienced is each morning your child has logged on and they've gone to their posts or they looked in the chat and their teachers have provided them with their work. Asynchronous just means that students do it independently and they don't have to be online with the teachers. However, teachers are still available if you need them. Now, these dates may change because, as I mentioned, we know that we're right now dealing with the precautionary MLG and W boil water situation. So tentatively, we were supposed to return to the building for teachers tomorrow. However, the district just communicated that we are still going to be remote. So our date of March the 1st, it may change. That was the original date. And of course, parents, I think Westhaven does a great job of keeping you all informed. I apologize for all the robocall texts and voicemails and emails, but I just want you all to know what's going on. I would rather you be more informed than less informed. So if they do change the day for in-person learning, we will let you know if it changes. So tomorrow, again, will be another asynchronous day. Your child will log on at 8 o'clock with their homeroom teacher, receive their asynchronous work, and then they will be able to log off and complete the assignments. The only thing we ask parents is support your child during that time. And if they need any assistance, let us know and know that the teacher is still available to assist. So that will be for the remainder of the week. And again, as soon as I get an update regarding if we will return March the 1st, I will make sure to communicate that with you all. Next slide. So parents, this is where we are going to need your help. All of the students that are in person we're asking them to bring their fully charged devices, power cords, and headsets. Now, I will give you all the autonomy to ultimately make the decision, but this is our fear. You know, we have students that are now going to be walking to school. We got students that are riding the bus, and our fear is their devices may get lost. Their devices may become damaged. So what we're asking is, once you send your child to school with their device, let the device remain at home. So you may say, well, Mr. Woodson, what about them accessing their devices for homework? The teachers already know we're asking them to
Remain
keep
at
their devices.
school.
Okay. We're asking again that they keep their devices at school. And so the reason we're saying it is we don't want their devices to be damaged. So teachers already know that if they are going to assign homework, it won't be something that will have to be done on their devices. So it may just be normal, traditional paper and pencil homework. So again, parents, we will ultimately leave that decision up to you. But if you know that your child is anything like my child and clumsy and they're going to damage their device, child and put it back for again to stay at the school. You don't have to worry about anyone stealing devices or anyone getting access because, as I mentioned, in the same seat with the same group of students, and each day the devices will be secured and locked. We are going to follow the normal instructional content and curriculum that we've been following, and then students who need individual instructional technology will get the assistance in-house. So instead of you having to come to the school in the past to get technology support, your kids will already have access to our technology gurus in the building. Next slide, Ms. Walter. There's been a lot of talk about school supplies and sharing. As I mentioned, students will sit in their same seat. We will have a seating chart. All desks will be labeled. And what we're going to do is we're either going to purchase little boxes or caddies that go on the back of their desk so they can keep all of their supplies. So they will not share their supplies with anyone. They'll use their own supplies. In the event that students are sharing anything, those things will be clean. However, we're not asking students to share anything, and they will keep their own supplies with them daily and store their supplies with them. Parents, you can send your child to school with a backpack, and what we're going to do is just make sure that their backpack and a coat remain with them the entire day. Typically, they put them in their cubbies, so we won't be using cubbies. All their backpacks and items will be stored with them on their desk, on the back of their desk, or under their desk. Next slide. So again, parents, regular instruction is going to occur. We'll be using somewhat of a hybrid model. So while the teacher is providing instruction to the virtual students, she will also, of course, be teaching the students that are physically, he or she is teaching physically in front of them. Teachers will continue to use the Teams platform. So I know under normal circumstance, we're kind of used to teachers, teaching all around the room. That won't happen. The teacher will be teaching through Teams, but the teacher will physically be there for the students. So it'll be much easier for her to help and support those students that are right there in person with her. The last bullet talks about quarantine, and 6 students will receive distant learning. As I mentioned, parents, if any student becomes sick or if any students fails the COVID-19 protocol, they will be placed in our isolation room. We are asking that you come and collect them quickly so that we can make sure that no one else becomes exposed. But while they're waiting, they will be online on Teams, still receiving instruction. Next slide. All right, parents, this is just a day in the life, a simulation of what it will look like. We're not going to spend a great deal of time on this. The teacher, of course, will have whole group instruction. The teacher now will have the option of doing small group instruction. And when they do that, what they may do is they will provide small group instruction to the students that are physically in front of them. And then the students that are virtual, they may give them asynchronous work, or they may do the flip. They may do small group instruction for the students that are virtual and then give the students that are physically in front of them asynchronous work so they can work independently. Parents, we will provide these illustrations to you all so you can read them at your leisure. Next slide, Ms. Walton. So this breaks down with whole group synchronous. I love this image of the teacher up teaching. That image is really when the teacher is teaching in person to all students. These pictures wouldn't necessarily be what you would see because the teacher is still teaching students virtually. And so because they're going to be teaching either from their laptop or desktop, the students that are joining them virtually wouldn't be able to see the teacher unless the teacher positions her camera in such a way or his camera in such a way that they would see. So this may or may not happen where teachers are up on their feet providing instruction, only because we have to make sure that the virtual students can engage just as well as the in-person students. Next slide. This is a small group that I mentioned. Teachers will have students in front of them that they can work with in person and do small group. And then they may actually, if you look at this second picture, this is a teacher, looks like she's probably in a breakout room and she's working with 3 students. And so while she's working with these 3 students, you notice the picture above, here's a student who's physically in the building and he's doing his asynchronous work while she works in small group. And as I mentioned, that scenario could flip where the students that are online or virtual are doing asynchronous while they work in small group with the students that are physically there. Next slide, Mr. Again, we won't go over this because you have had a great deal of experience with asynchronous learning now for 2 days, but these are different examples of the type of asynchronous work that teachers could provide. They could do projects, presentations, enrichment activities, practice pages, review video lessons, iReady, grade recovery assignments, and or give them exit tickets. This next video, parents, is going to basically explain to you and show you what a hybrid synchronous model would look like. You can cue the video. There's no sound, Ms. Walter. Parents, bear with us. We were having some difficulty with the video, but I think we may have it this time.
All right, we ready. In 5, y'all want to count it down to me? All right, let's go. Count it down.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ooh, let's go. All right, 10 seconds. We're going to end it. We're looking good. I like the way we have green. Look at our percent that we have right. Got a lot more right than we got wrong, right? So I think that deserves a round of applause. I think so, girl. Raise your hand and tell me what was that whole quiz about. Is that Sean? 110s and ones. What's another way we can say 110s and ones? Samaria. Place value. So we still talking about place value. I talked about place value yesterday, right? So we still talking about place value. All right. So now I need you to go to your agenda. We're clicking on nearby lesson. Thumbs up if we are ready. Thumbs up here. Thumbs up if you're ready. Ezekiel, thank you for keeping that camera on, buddy. All right. Can I have a volunteer to read our objective to us?
Recognize a digit represents 10 times the value of what it represents and then place to its right.
So for our fluency practice, I need everybody to stand up right behind the desk. And I need y'all to stand up right behind your chair or wherever you are at home. So we're going to count by 3 going up. But to count up, we got to punch up. So y'all ready to punch up? Y'all ready to punch up? Hold your hands up. Let's see. Count by 3. Go.
3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33, 36.
All right, we're at 36 right now. Now we got to go backwards. So we got to punch down. We got to pull down. So this arm is up. One arm up. Michael, one arm up. All right, let's go. 36. 3, 27. 6, 3, I like the way some of y'all looking at me instead of the cheat sheet. Good job, good job. All right, give yourself a round of applause and have a seat. All right, now we're gonna label some place value charts. So I want you to label your place value chart and use your place value disk to complete that activity. Let me put it over here. So you need to use your pen tool to label yours on your board. And then submit it when you are done. All right, we're doing 3 10s and 2 1s. Who can raise their hand and tell me what's 3 10s and 2 1s? What is the standard form of that number? Zayden.
32.
He said 32. How we feel about 32? Good job. 400, 3 1s. Who can tell me the standard form of that number? 403 1s. Tell you.
403.
She said 403. How do we feel about 403? Everybody agree? Yep, 403. How does 403 look with digits? How would that number look? Like 304? How would it look? 403, because we don't have any what? We don't have any tens. So 403. Good job. All right, so it's your turn for the application problem. All right, Amy is baking muffins. Each baking tray can hold 6 muffins. If Amy bakes 4 trays of muffins, how many muffins will she have in all? And then part B says, the corner bakery produced 10 times as many muffins as Amy baked. How many muffins did the bakery make? Y'all ready? All right, 6 minutes. Let's see it. I'm watching Go Guardian. All right, I see some good pictures. Good job. Some good pictures. Watch your time. All right, time's up. Paris, go ahead and unmute your mic and explain to us. How did you get this answer?
What I did was draw, I drew rows, 4 rows, I mean 6 rows of 4, and I multiplied 4 times 6, and that equals 24. And then it said how much 10 more than that was how much more than the girl house, and I multiplied 10 times 24, and that gave me 240.
All right, what could Paris? Okay, I see some people agreeing with you, Paris. Let's see, does anyone disagree with Paris?
It says 6 times 4.
It says 6 times 4, so instead of counting by 6s, let's count by 4s. Are we to count by 4s? Do we need to stand up to count by 4s? We could do it in our seats. Which one y'all want to do? Stand up in our seats. In the seats, all right, so we count by 4s, and I need to see your lips moving, so we got to make sure. How many times are we going to count by 4s? 6 times, okay? So go ahead and put our 6 fingers up. Be ready for it, right? 6 fingers? Let's count by 4s. Go.
4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24.
20. All right, we ready.
All right, parents. I think you all get an idea. And the one thing that I will say is that is where Westhaven will ultimately.
Okay, I think, did he go out again? I think he did. Okay. So I think he was just going to reiterate that the video just shows an example of how teachers will be able to assist with students virtually and the students that are sitting in person with them in the classroom. So the next slide talks about bus riders, car riders, walkers, and etc. So parents will not be allowed to enter the building, which he's already stated. Dismissal times, we're going to have a staggered dismissal time because we're trying to prevent having so many kids in the hallways at one time. So we're going to dismiss our walkers first, which would be at 3:05. Daycare and bus riders will dismiss at 3:10, and car riders will dismiss at 3:15. Students will be required to wear, okay. Students will be required to wear a mask as they exit the building to their awaiting parents or cars and walk home. Parents will not be allowed to exit their cars to gather in groups while waiting for students to dismiss. Students' masks must be worn properly before entering the bus, during the bus ride, and upon exiting the bus. And then again, he's already stated he will provide more information if your child does ride the bus. Mr. Wilson, are you back with us?
I am.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. C. So our parents, let me just say this really quick, and then I pick up where Dr. Crossrail left off. Parents, that video was a model of where we will ultimately be at Westhaven. We have some dynamic teachers. It is going to take us a minute to figure out how to provide in-person instruction for our students that are physically there as well as our virtual. But that exemplar that you see,
Okay, again, I think he's just saying what I had already mentioned based on the video. So again, that's the place that we're trying to eventually get to with our students that are virtual as well as in person. Are you still with us, Mr. Wilson? All right, so I had just mentioned our dismissal. So this just breaks it down again. Like I stated before, walkers will be dismissed at 3:05 and they will exit the front door just as we've done in the past. Our bus and daycare riders will be dismissed at 3:10. Bus riders will dismiss from the front door, which was the same, as well as daycare riders will exit the library side door. And then our car riders will approximately dismiss at 3:15 using our cafeteria rear door. So the location of dismissal hasn't changed if you were with us on last year. All right, so again, this is just another breakdown of a day in the life of an elementary school student. And again, because we do have the students coming in person, we did have to modify the schedule. So the teachers will be provided a new schedule, and the teachers will then share those schedules with their students. So they'll know exactly what time to switch for their second and third period if it applies. So again, this is just a visual example. Again, just kind of breaking down, student will enter the building, of course, with his or her mask. An administrator and or teacher will check for temperature. Throughout the day, we will make sure that the students are socially distanced. We will ensure that he or she washes hands and exit the building safely. So again, this is just a pictorial representation of how the day will look inside of Westhaven. Again, just giving another example. I think the original slide was the beginning part, and this is just another example. So again, we do have a schedule when students will transition from first period, second period, lunch, as well as support. So again, this is just another example that they provided. All right, Mr. Wilson, are you back with us?
I am, but I'm fearful of coming off mute. But I'm gonna try. You're doing a great job, Dr. Crossrail. So going back to that previous slide, that last slide, go back one, Miss Walter, really quickly. That is just what your kids are already doing right now. That's the day in the life of a student that is joining us virtually. The only thing that's going to change, parents, is the schedule is going to be different. They'll still be with the same homeroom teachers, but the schedule has been adjusted to fit our regular bell times. Next slide. Parents, we all know that social and emotional learning is a huge component. So this is just some of the supports that we're going to provide for our students that are joining us virtually, as well as our students that will join us in person. Parents, be on the lookout. We have 2 dynamic guidance counselors, and they're going to give us a plan around what does SEL look like for our students at Westhaven. So be on the lookout for that. But again, we know parents that students are dealing with trauma. We're dealing with trauma. There's so many things that we're trying to deal with during this pandemic. So we will make sure that your child receives a necessary support. Next slide, Ms. Walter. So this section, and I'm gonna go through this really quickly. I know that we do have some pre-K parents that are with us, so I'm not gonna spend a great deal of time on this. Pre-K parents, just know that my plan is to do a separate meeting with you all to go through this slide by slide. But for now, I'm just gonna do a quick overview. Our pre-K parents right now, the numbers we have, they're really low in both classrooms. We're going to look at every approach. So your students will enter and come to the school at one time and they will leave at another time. So once we confirm those times, parents, we will let you know. Now, pre-K parents, you know, your situation is different. Your students have to be signed in and out. And typically we've used basically a sheet of paper. Now we have a system called Raptor, and you will have to sign your kid on the device and sign them out on the device. So we're going to have a designated area right now. We're thinking the side door of the library so that your students can quickly be COVID-19 scanned and then social distance until all students come. And we're going to share the specific times that you will come to the school and pick your students up. But know that they're going to come later than the students and they will leave earlier than our other K through 5 students. But that information will be shared with you all once we confirm it. Now, again, parents, it's the same scenario. Because you're with your kids, we will have to scan them. You will not be able to just sign them in and leave. You have to sign them in. We have to scan them. And then if they pass and don't leave, we do have time on you. Next slide, Ms. Walter. This just kind of breaks down pick up and drop off, which is what I've been basically kind of talk to you all about. Parents, again, you won't be allowed to enter the building all the way. You'll be able to enter to sign in on the Raptor system. We'll scan your child, and then you'll be able to leave if they pass. Next slide. Okay, so this again breaks everything down. The one thing that I will talk about, and it may come up in a later slide, we will use the same guidelines for our pre-K students. They will be socially distanced in the classroom. Depending on the size of students that are coming, they may have 2 separate lunch breaks. So if we have 10 students, all 10 would not have lunch at the same time. We would have like a team A lunch and a team B. So while team A is having lunch, the other students will be working, and then vice versa, because we want to make sure that once they eat that we can clean up behind them. And we know with pre-K, a lot of times they do share items and they have to be clean. As much as we possibly can within reason, parents, we're going to try to not allow them to share materials. But in the event that they do, we're going to make sure that those items are cleaned thoroughly throughout the day. We do have an added benefit of our classroom. They have restrooms, so we'll make sure that in between them using the restrooms that we keep those clean. Next slide, Ms. Walter. This next slide kind of talks to what I said. Toys that cannot be cleaned, they will be sanitized and will be removed. Teachers will remove all machine washable cloth toys. So that's something we're going to do before the students even come into the building. Every classroom, pre-K or throughout the entire building, will have what we call a PPE table. It will have PPE equipment. It will have hand sanitizer. We will have supplies so that we can make sure that we can thoroughly clean all spaces. But specifically for pre-K, they will also make sure that all items are clean. There's one bullet I will focus on. It says all contaminated toys will be set aside until they have been cleaned. We'll have sanitizing buckets will be provided, but we're going to make sure that we're following the guidelines, parents, for our pre-K students. Next slide, Ms. Walter. This kind of goes into, the curriculum for pre-K parents. Of course, they spend some time in whole group and then they spend some time in centers. Typically what we've done is we've allowed the students to rotate to the centers, but because we're trying to keep everything disinfected, they probably will have the centers rotate to them. So instead of the kids walking around the class to go to different areas, the teacher may take those items and bring them to the students to keep them from possibly physically coming in contact or socially coming in contact. So we'll follow these guidelines on this slide. And again, pre-K parents, we will have a follow-up meeting, and all of this information on these slides, this will be shared with you all so that you can read it at your leisure. Next slide. I already talked to you about pre-K meals, parents. And then this is just the last slide. This just kind of talks about the enhanced health and safety protocols. Parents, the one thing that I can let you all know is building wide, the bathrooms will be cleaned 4 times a day, 3 times while students are present. And then the last cleaning will happen once all the students have been left. So we have an increased cleaning process. They mentioned earlier on one of the district meetings that in the past they've allowed supplies to get to 0. So now if soap is running at half empty, they're going to refill those at the half mark instead of them going all the way out. So they're doing increased cleaning. I've already asked for additional support as far as our custodial staff so we can make sure that all areas are clean throughout the day. Areas in the classroom, the teachers will have cleaning supplies, so they will be able to clean up behind students, and then the custodial staff will be able to come in and clean behind them. Again, parents, we will have some limited available PPE equipment, so we're asking that you do send your child to school every day with their mask. Go ahead and begin practicing them wearing their mask because they will be required to wear their mask throughout the day. One of the things that we are planning on doing is when we take brain breaks, our plan is to also provide what we call mask breaks. Right now, the district has provided barriers and shields, isolation dividers for our students that will sit on their desk. They're clear, and so the students can see through them. So if the student is doing a brain break where they're jumping around, they have their mask on, and when it's time for them to have a mask break, they will sit down and stay behind their barrier and remove their mask just temporarily so that they can take a breather, because we know and understand that wearing a mask for 6-7 hours can become very challenging, not just for our younger kids, but especially possibly for our older kids. But if we do mask breaks, parents just know that we're going to follow the proper guidelines and we will ensure that your child is safe and not exposed. Next slide, Ms. Walter. All right, I'm catching up. So this is the protocol, parents, for student or staff test positive for COVID-19. 2 members of the admin team have already gone through the necessary training and protocols. So parents, we are asking that if you know that your child has tested positive for COVID-19, please call the school and let us know. You will be directed to either Mr. Coleman, our PLC coach, or Mr. Hurd, our guidance counselor. And then there are some guidelines that we must follow. We have to do contact tracing. We also have to make sure that the COVID-19 task force is involved. And then we can decide whether it's just a classroom or if it's a grade level or if it's school-wide closure or possible shutdown. But again, parents, if you know in advance that your child is showing symptoms, first of all, don't send them to school. If you know that they've been around someone that is tested positive, inform us and let us know. And then if your child has tested positive, please call us and let us know so that we can plan effectively. And so one slide talks about self-reporting, and then the other slide talks about a confirmed case. And again, parents, we will provide you all with copies of this so that you will know what steps to take in the event that your child has come in contact with someone with COVID at your home or while they're with you, or they have tested positive for COVID-19. Next slide. So these are your options, parents. We know that we have sent you all a flyer regarding letting us know, but parents, just know that you can visit the school when the school is open. Of course, we've been closed, and you can visit, and there's a document that you can fill out to let us know your learning option that you chose. Your second option, parents, is to call the school, 416-8740. either Ms. Hearn or Ms. Sutton will answer the line. They will capture that information and we will update that you've made a change to your child's learning option. Next slide, Ms. Walter. That's the document, parents. If you physically came into the building and you wanted to change your child's learning option, you would follow those steps on there. Next slide. Parent to verify student information. So this is just guidelines that we follow, because if you do change the option, we go into Power School and make sure that we capture. First, we have to make sure we're talking to the right parent, and then we go in, once we've confirmed, we will change their learning option in Power School for you. Ms. Walter, you can skip that next slide because that's what we do. All right. Parents, we are almost to the end. This is our last slide. You all have heard this tagline used by Superintendent Dr. Ray. He says consistently that the coronavirus will not defeat us. And then he just gives us some information about history. We know that over the years, our world, and this specifically in Memphis, we have faced epidemics and we have faced pandemics. So this, unfortunately, will not be our last pandemic. The last part just talks about that they were eventually conquered by the public health initiatives and a vaccine. So right now we know that they're offering the COVID-19 vaccination. Parents just know that we're going to take all the necessary steps to ensure that your children are safe when they come to Westhaven. Parents, that brings us to our last and final slide. Admin team, if you all would monitor the chat box. If I have any questions, admin team, if you all could come off mute and read those questions. And parents, if you have a question, please raise your hand and a member of the admin team will let me know who you are, and then I will answer any questions that you may have. Go ahead. Ms. Jordan, if you're there, could you share any questions that are in the chat box, or any member of the admin team, or if there are any hands raised, because of course I can't see anything.
I don't see anything in the chat box. Someone does have their hand raised. Gabriella Davis is parent.
Okay, Ms. Davis, you can come off mute.
This is Father. I was wondering, is this going to be 5 days or how many days a week?
Oh, great question, Dad. It's every day. We'll be in school 5 days a week.
Okay.
What grade is your child in?
She's in kindergarten, Miss Gibson's class.
Okay, yes, sir. It'll be 5 days a week.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
I don't see. Abdul J, did you have your hand raised? Okay, I don't see any more hands or comments.
Okay. Well, parents, if you all...
I do have a question.
Well, wait.
The question is about the buses. How's that going to work? Because do you supposed to come sign something for them to ride the bus?
Did your child ride the bus last year?
No.
So hopefully, I don't know, Mr. Coleman, you may have to jump off mute in just a second and answer. So typically what we do, Mom, is we have to look in the system to see if you are on one of the bus routes that qualify. So we put the information in the system with your address, and then it lets us know if your child qualifies. And then once we know that, it tells us where the bus stop is. And then all you have to do is make sure that your child is at the bus stop for those times. Mr. Coleman or Mr. Hurd, did I say that correctly? Could you all confirm what I just said?
There's an option on the SES website where it says My Transportation. And if you enter your address, it'll give you the pickup time and drop off time for bus rider students. And if if indeed they do qualify for it.
Okay,
So just go to the website and see.
Go to the website and it should be a section that says it should say transportation, and then it should be an option that says my bus stop.
And Mom, just hold on. I'm gonna get a member of the admin team. Admin team, can we jump on that real quick and put that link in the chat box for the parents so she won't have to go looking for it? Mom, we're gonna try to put that link so you won't have to go looking for it, so you can just click it. So somebody on the admin team, could you all find that and put it in the chat box?
Okay, thank you.
No, you're welcome. Any other hands, Ms. Jordan?
No, I don't see any.
I
Okay, wait a minute.
I have a
Darren,
question.
Darren, is that Darren and Downey's parent?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, go
Okay,
ahead.
so I'm hearing that someone said they'll be swabbed for COVID twice a week in school. Is that true?
There'll be what, Mom?
Swabbed for COVID at school 2 times a week.
I haven't, the district, I haven't seen that shared with us. I am not familiar with the district having any type of screening that we're doing for COVID. We're just going to take students through from information they've shared with us. We're just going to do our COVID-19 screening process. They haven't shared any ways that we're going to actually be testing students. So no, I'm not aware of that, Mom.
Okay, and then they were saying that the people who would be in the classroom with the students would be members from a temp service, Kelly's temporary service. Is that true?
No, ma'am. That was the original plan. All our entire staff will be in the building. So all
Okay.
teachers are back in the building once they confirm the date.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do have one more question. My daughter's charger is no longer working. I was looking online. I saw that it cost me almost $40 to buy her new charger. Do you guys supply that, or do I need to just order one?
Okay, team, can you all confirm? That you can hear me?
Yes, it's a slight echo, but yes, we can hear you. You're back on mute now.
It's echoing now.
Yes.
Okay. Mom, let me check into that because we were trying to make some arrangements to order additional chargers.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Ms. Jordan, do we have any more hands raised or questions?
I don't see any more hands or chat box questions.
Okay. Well, we are able to put that link in the chat box for that parent for bus transportation.
No, it's not in the chat yet.
Mr. Hurd, did you find it? Because I was searching and I didn't see it. Do you know where exactly it is, Mr. Hurd?
It's on the SCS website. I can't pull it up for some reason.
It's not pulling up. I found it.
I don't. It's not come. I don't. Yeah.
It won't pull up. You go to SCS, you go to parents, and you go to transportation, and you go to my bus stop. But my bus stop won't pull up for some reason.
Mom, give us your name and we'll get that information to you. We'll tell you exactly what you need to do. What's your name, Mom? Can you capture the mom's name so we can contact her?
Yes, it's Yolanda Dye.
Okay, Ms. Dye, Mr. Hurd, or someone on the team will give you a call and we'll let you know exactly what steps we need to take for you.
Okay, thank you.
What's the child's name? So I'll know.
Micah Dye and Julie Dye.
Okay.
Well, parents, if you all do not have any other questions, this is going to end our Return Warrior Strong Town Hall. We greatly appreciate you all joining us today. Thank you for your patience as we experience our many technical difficulties. I will remain on the line as long as you need me to. If you have any burning questions, if not, parents, tomorrow will be another asynchronous day. Make sure that your child logs on at their normal time at 8 o'clock. Teachers will take attendance, and then they will also give the asynchronous work expectations for tomorrow. Okay. Can you all hear me? I think my technology is working now.